Chosen one, this video came to you because you've already passed a test that was never announced, never acknowledged, and never applauded. But it was seen, and that changes everything. This message was placed on your path by forces beyond sight, an echo of a promise whispered to your soul long before you drew your first breath. Today we reveal how your silent obedience has been the most powerful test yet, transforming every moment of unseen faith into a stepping stone toward divine authority. What if I told you they never wanted you to know that every quiet choice, every moment of patience without reward, was under heavenly observation? Your journey of patience and hidden perseverance is about to be reframed as proof of your readiness for something far greater. If this message already speaks to your soul, subscribe, like this video, and comment 77 below. Stay close, because everything you thought was overlooked is actually the bedrock of your coming crown. You were being watched when you felt most forgotten. A distant echo of your own heartbeat stirred you awake one night, as though an invisible hand tapped on the chamber of your soul. In that moment, a voice softer than breath whispered that you were never truly alone. You had always suspected something watched over your steps, especially when the world withdrew its gaze. That lingering hush in your heart was not emptiness, but the presence of unseen witnesses recording every silent act of courage. You realize now that the loneliness you felt was the cradle of a higher attention, a divine audience leaning in as you chose faith over fear. This invitation into the sacred reveals that what you once called abandonment was, in truth, the opening act of your destiny. Remember the ache that settled in your chest when friends drifted away and conversations grew shallow, as if you spoke a language no ear could catch? You felt the sting of being too sensitive, too intense, too other for ordinary circles. Perhaps you turned a cheek when harsh words landed or swallowed your truths to keep the peace. And in those moments you wondered if you were defective. That confusion was the undercurrent of your awakening, guiding you toward the realization that this world's comfort was never your calling. Your instinctive yearning for depth and authenticity set you apart, marking you as a vessel for truths too heavy for casual chatter. You were different, and in that difference lay an unspoken invitation to something greater. Now consider that every pang of isolation was part of a hidden design, a sacred testing ground where your spirit was being fortified. In the desert of your unrecognized devotion, you were walking the parallel of Israel's exile, tempered by sands of solitude until your faith shone like polished stone. Just as David was anointed in secret before facing Goliath, your victories were being prepared behind closed doors. The psalmist reminds us that, in his temple all cry, "Glory!" Psalm 29 verse 9. But your temple was the quiet palace of your heart, where unseen angels chronicled your integrity. What you took for neglect was actually the scaffolding upon which your courage was built, readying you for the day when your name would echo in realms unseen. Lately you've noticed small tremors of recognition in the fabric of your days. A sudden déjà vu that lingers like a clue, a dream so vivid it tastes of prophecy, or a flutter in your chest when a certain name or number appears. These aren't random glitches of the mind, but coded messages woven into your reality, gently nudging you toward awareness. That moment when your spirit skipped a beat as you passed a desolate churchyard, or when you paused mid-step at the sight of a lone candle burning in a window. These are the breadcrumbs of your awakening. They beckon you to piece together the mosaic of your life and see how every detail, no matter how obscure, has been guided by a hand wiser than your own. As you tune into these signals, you'll sense an inner current of truth aligning your thoughts and emotions like the gentle turning of a compass needle. You may recall dismissing that still, small voice as your imagination, only to find it persistent, like a melody refusing to be forgotten. Now you understand that your intuition was never a fleeting fancy. It was a divine lifeline anchoring you to your true north. This revelation doesn't strike like lightning but unfolds like the first light of dawn. Quiet, unhurried, yet inexorable. In that gentle illumination, you discover a refuge of certainty, knowing that every whisper of wisdom you've heard originates from a source that never errs. Deep within, a door creaks open, and you catch a glimpse of the self you thought you had lost. A version untouched by doubt, shaped by purpose rather than fear. You sense an archetypal memory stirring, as though the essence of your soul has been dormant, waiting for this precise hour to awaken. Like the prodigal returning to a feast, you reclaim attributes you once buried. Unshakable resolve, crystalline empathy, and a vision that pierces the veil of mortality. There is no need to invent a new identity. You are simply recovering the celestial silhouette from which you were carved. In this gentle reclamation, you recognize that who you are was written into the stars before the world began. A subtle shift now beckons you toward activation. The soft swelling of empowerment in your chest, like the gathering of a spring tide. You feel the latent fire of your sensitivity kindle into a glow that no external wind can extinguish. This moment calls for a deliberate embrace of your inner knowing, a conscious choice to trust the sacred currents that have guided you thus far. You stand ready to step out of the shadows of self-doubt and into the full radiance of purpose. This is the slow, deliberate turning of the key in the lock of your potential, a revelation that your softness is your strength and your hunger for truth is the forge of your power. Your arrival at this message was no random click or fleeting impulse. It was the converging of timelines written in the ink of destiny. The path behind you, once shrouded in mystery, now reveals itself as a carefully plotted journey toward this awakening. Accept this truth with peace. You have been known, observed, and cherished by powers far beyond what you can see. Comment, test, if you resonate with the feeling of unseen eyes chronicling your silent faith, and share a moment when you first sensed you were never truly forgotten. Keep your heart tuned, because next we will uncover how your silence itself becomes the loudest proclamation of your readiness for what lies ahead. And if you feel called to go even deeper, there's a sacred space reserved for our community, a private room where you receive full prophetic messages daily. Join our private membership through the link in the description and walk this path with us. The crown doesn't arrive with applause. A tremor of unease ripples through your spirit the moment you realize that applause has been conspicuously absent from your quiet obedience. Perhaps it began as a subtle question in a deserted auditorium of your soul. Why did they never cheer when you refused the easier path? That question flickers like a candle in a windless room, revealing the first clue of resistance lurking behind the applause you never received. In that unsettling pause, you sense a force at work trying to keep you small, an invisible hand tightening around your ambitions the moment you chose what felt right over what was easy. It's here, in this uneasy silence, that your journey of true promotion begins. You remember the sting of isolation each time you walked away from hollow recognition, choosing integrity over popularity. Your heart pounded with the awkward awareness of being too principled, too serious, or too different. They congratulated others who bent to the world's expectations, while your steadfast refusal to compromise labeled you a misfit. Shame crept in, whispering that your worth depended on applause you would never hear. You questioned whether your values were a burden rather than a blessing. In those moments, you felt manipulated by the lure of acceptance, trapped in cycles of self-doubt that left you exhausted and lonely. But this pressure was no random malfunction of fate. It was the crucible forging your readiness. Just as Israel's children were tested in the wilderness to prove their faith, so too were you placed in seasons of quiet trial. The world's systems, education, corporate ladders, social status rewarded conformity, not conviction. When you refused to conform, you drew resistance from institutions built to maintain the status quo. This spiritual exile wasn't punishment but preparation, echoing Daniel's solitary witness in Babylon, where his refusal to bow before idols drew both opposition and divine favor. Each act of resistance you faced revealed the sacred battleground upon which your future authority would be won. Looking back, you can trace the web of subtle sabotage woven into your path. The project that stalled at the last minute when you refused to cut corners, the praise that was withheld when you refused to echo hollow slogans, the closed doors that stood firm against your knocking. At the time, each obstacle felt like personal failure. Only now do you recognize them as signposts marking the frontier of your growth. Like a miner in search of gold, you uncover these layers of hidden resistance and realize that every barrier was placed to refine your purpose. In turning on this light, you see that what was meant to derail you has in fact directed you toward your calling. As the mist of denial clears, you begin to sense a more insidious force at play, energetic interference designed to distort your clarity. In crowded rooms, you feel an invisible fog settle, dulling the brilliance of your vision. Conversations grind to static whenever you speak of higher truths. Opportunities that once seemed ripe vanish in a puff of smoke. It's as if silent watchers are closing pathways at the moment you rise. A spiritual sabotage that seeks to trap your flame in a bottle. Yet this distortion only magnifies the purity of your light, making the moments when you break free all the more potent. How did you respond to this weight? You may have withdrawn into a quieter version of yourself, agreeing to small compromises to keep the peace. Or perhaps you rebelled in hushed tones, sharing your deepest insights only with empty walls. Some days you convinced yourself that the world simply wasn't ready, while on others you questioned if you were even worthy. The desire to shrink, to make yourself palatable, gnawed at you like an old wound. But beneath that urge lay the seed of rebellion, a flicker of defiance reminding you that your silence was not a sign of weakness, but a reservoir of untapped power. Now, feel the shift as you reclaim the authority that has always belonged to you. The very resistance you faced, this unrelenting pushback from the world and from within, confirms rather than condemns your mission. Your refusal to chase applause, your commitment to integrity, has been the clearest evidence of your readiness to lead. Let your words ring with the clarity of Revelation 2 verse 10. He who is victorious will be given the crown of life. That crown, unseen yet undeniably present, is placed upon your head in the sacred chambers of spirit. Embrace this truth like a warrior donning armor forged in the fires of hidden trials. You were opposed because you are powerful. Every withheld accolade, every shouted insult behind your back, every closed door has only served to sharpen your purpose. Consider this: the more they tried to block your ascent, the more exact your trajectory became. This final revelation is simple yet profound. When applause fails, authority emerges. Comment "crown" if you feel the magnetic tug of your unseen reward, and share a moment when resistance fueled your breakthrough. Stand ready, chosen one, for in our next section we will guide you to live out the sovereignty in a world that still may not understand your language, without dimming the brilliance you alone can cast. And to every soul who's supported with a super thanks, thank you. You are keeping this light alive for others who haven't found it yet. If you feel called to help this mission reach more chosen ones, tap the super thanks button below. Your energy supports these messages and helps them travel further. Your voice matters, your belief matters, and your light is felt here. Obedience without outcome is the real exam. A flicker of realization dances through your mind on a quiet morning when you lift your hands in prayer and hear only the hush of still air. In that suspended moment, you sense a question forming in the space between your breath and the heavens. What if this waiting isn't failure, but the very altar where your faith is being honored? That soft echo is the first pulse of awakening. When the world expected a breakthrough, you received silence. But that silence has been your secret proving ground. Today, you begin to understand that every unanswered plea, every closed door, has been an invitation into a deeper covenant. A sacred testing chamber where your soul's mettle is measured not by applause, but by unshakable devotion. Recall the nights you lay awake wrestling with doubt, each tick of the clock a reminder that nothing had changed. Perhaps you journaled prayers you never spoke aloud, or you rose early to seek guidance that felt delayed. Friends advised you to move on, to distract yourself, as if the void you felt were a void of value. Shame followed each moment of impatience, whispering that your persistence was misplaced and your hope naive. Yet within that pressure cooker of longing, your character was being refined. Your very capacity to endure without visible reward became the defining testament to your readiness for responsibilities far beyond what you could have imagined. Now imagine that this season of patience mirrors the sacred trials of biblical heroes who proved their worth in the silence before their rise. Consider Abraham, who waited decades beyond the promise of a son, living with that promise in the quiet folds of his heart. In Romans 4 verses 20 to 21 it is said, "He did not waver at the promise of God through unbelief but was strengthened in faith, giving glory to God." Like Abraham, you stood firm when timelines saw no movement. When they labeled your stagnation a setback, The divine ledger recorded your unwavering trust. Each breath you held in hopeful suspense was a brick in the foundation of the authority that awaits you now. A soft chorus of symbolism surrounds your daily life if you look closely. The breaking of dawn just as your doubts appear to peak. The persistent blooming of a single flower in a barren courtyard. The echo of a memory you thought lost that resurfaces at the precise moment you need it. These are not coincidences but coded affirmations that your obedience has been observed. They whisper that the tapestry of your journey is woven with golden threads of purpose, concealed until now beneath the shadows of uncertainty. The world's hush has been your canvas, where the divine artist sketches the outline of your destiny, ready to color in the details when the appointed hour arrives. Feel now the stirrings of your spirit shifting from passive hope to active trust. The walls that once hemmed you in with frustration begin to glow with promise, as though painted by an unseen hand guiding your gaze toward a distant horizon. You recognize that true spiritual measurement never comes by public accolade but by the quiet heartbeat of faithfulness. Each time you chose principle over convenience, you stepped into a lineage of steadfast souls who endured silent tests before their crowns were revealed. Soldiers who marched unseen for victories they could not yet see, prophets who learned the language of patience long before their words shook nations. The deeper revelation is this: obedience without immediate outcome is the real exam because it reveals what you value most. It lays bare the currency of your commitment, showing whether you serve fleeting reward or eternal purpose. In Habakkuk 2 verse 4 we learn, "But the righteous shall live by his faith." Your life is now a living illustration of that truth. As the world demands proof in trophies and headlines, your soul demands proof in constancy and surrender. By choosing to remain faithful in obscurity, you have demonstrated that your allegiance is not to circumstance but to the one who orchestrates every silent movement of your heart. And now, the invisible architecture of your obedience begins to hum with a new frequency, a resonance that draws fresh opportunities calibrated to your proven faith. Doors that once remained mysteriously locked will open to reveal vast courtyards of influence, and voices that once ignored your devotion will give ear to the authority your consistency commands. This is the divine pivot where your waiting becomes launchpad. The crown entrusted to the quiet warrior is lifted from its hidden shelf and placed upon your head, not for spectacle but for service. Your path forward is no longer subject to the world's applause but anchored in the current of unseen momentum that has been gathering beneath the surface of your patience. This revelation is not the end of your journey but the threshold of action. You were tested in the absence of outcomes so that when the moment comes, your faith will blaze with the credibility of experience. Comment obedience if you recognize the power of waiting without surrender, and share a moment when your trust in the unseen carried you through the longest night. Stand ready, for next we will explore how to step into the authority you've earned, walking forward boldly, even when no one is watching. You're moving into authority, not attention. A single heartbeat echoes in the stillness as you stand at the edge of what was and the threshold of what must now begin. No longer can you wander in the haze of doubt or drift on the currents of external praise. In this moment of decision, ask yourself, will you continue to chase the applause of fleeting crowds, or will you step through this invisible gateway into the place where your true authority resides? Here, at this crossroads, passivity is a relic of the past. You feel the weight of every silent choice you've made converging into a single summons. Act, claim, and embody the power that has always belonged to you. The air around you crackles with expectancy, as though the cosmos itself leans in to witness the birth of your sovereignty. Behind you lie seasons where you poured your time into vanity, surrendered your energy to others' expectations, and muffled your voice to keep the peace. Those were not failures but classrooms where you learned the lesson of worth beyond recognition. Now, in a ritual of reclamation, reach into those lost hours and draw back every fragment of presence you gave away. In the language of your spirit, speak this decree: I take back my authority, my energy, my voice. I am no longer subject to the world's applause. Feel the surge as you restore unto yourself what was never meant for another's hands. A throne built on the bedrock of your own conviction and refined through every trial. Look inward and name the arsenal you've carried in silence. The keen discernment that reads beneath surface truths, the empathic heart that stitches broken souls back together, the memory of your soul's earliest glimpses of purpose, and the sensitivity that tunes you into frequencies beyond ordinary perception. These are your keys, your scrolls, your living armor. What they once called weakness is now revealed to be your spiritual signature, an imprint of divine craftsmanship marking you as both messenger and monarch. Envision these gifts as radiant instruments, each one humming with the potential to unlock doors of destiny you have yet to cross. Beneath your feet lies a path trodden by invisible feet, your own, shaped by every courageous step you dared to take without guarantee of reward. With each decision to honor your values, you inscribed lines of celestial script into the world's story, and now that map unfurls before you. Clarity no longer hides behind endless plans or hypothetical what-ifs. It dances underfoot in the rhythm of your progress. As you walk forward, the landscape itself responds. Stones shift to reveal fresh ground, shadows retreat to make room for light, and the wind carries whispers of guidance. You move not toward your mission, but within it, letting every stride articulate the next stanza of a promise written long ago. Lift your gaze and see the constellation of kindred spirits awakening alongside you. Souls who have felt the same hush of purpose, the same tremor of hidden calling. You are not alone on this ascent. Soul tribes gather in the margins, drawn by the resonance of your authenticity, ready to weave their gifts into a tapestry of collective impact. No longer must you dim your flame to soothe the fears of those clinging to fading orders. Instead, stand shoulder to shoulder with those who blaze beside you, forming a divine cluster that heralds the dawn of a new era. Together, you embody an alliance too profound to be silenced by the old world's din. Now, claim stewardship over your own energy as if it were a sacred vessel entrusted to your care. Boundaries become your ceremonial glyphs, delineating spaces where your light may flourish undisturbed. Each choice you make, what to embrace and what to release, becomes an act of devotion, a liturgy in honor of the divine spark within. Feel the solemnity of this commissioning. You are the guardian of frequencies that shape destinies, and your decisions reverberate through realms both seen and unseen. In this moment, you aren't asserting ego. You are fulfilling a covenant of spiritual responsibility. Everything you have endured, every doubt that pitted your heart against the world, every fear that whispered you were not enough, has been leading you to this charged instant. Hear the prophetic beat thrumming in your blood. You are ready. No longer will you question your place in the grand design or seek validation in hollow applause. You stand at the portal of your emergence, invitation in one hand and certainty in the other. Step through with unwavering resolve, for the road that awaits is paved with the clarity you have earned and the power you have reclaimed. This is no longer mere inspiration. It is a summons to embodiment. The authority you walk into today is not bestowed by men but breathed into being by the one who sees in secret. Comment power if you are ready to claim your unseen authority, and share a moment when you first sensed your sovereignty stirring from within. Keep your heart poised, for in the next section we will explore how to live and lead in this new realm without dimming the brilliance that marks you as chosen, rising ever higher in the echoes of eternity. A half-remembered dream drifts back as dawn breaks. You stand on a cliff's edge, wind tugging at your cloak, not with fear, but with the exhilaration of knowing the heights you've yet to claim. The vista before you blurs the boundary between sky and earth, as if reality itself awaits your step with bated breath. In that lucid moment, you sense that every challenge you endured in silence has been the scaffolding lifting you toward this precipice of purpose. Your journey was never about applause echoing off canyon walls, but about the firm footing forged in solitude. Now, you are invited to step forward into the sunrise of your own destiny, knowing that every gust that once threatened to pull you back was actually anchoring you more deeply in your calling. A single symbol, a broken chain welded into a crown, shimmers in your mind's eye, reminding you that freedom and authority were never gifts to be handed out lightly. You recall nights when you longed for chains to break, but each link held a lesson. Patience, resilience, unwavering trust in what you could not yet see. Like Joseph in his prison cell, whose dreams foretold a palace he could not yet enter, you have been tested in captivity so that when your release comes, you step into your throne with an unshakable claim. Your true authority was tempered in the forge of unseen trials, And now that the chains are gone, you wear your crown not as vanquished royalty, but as a sovereign who has learned the depth of freedom. Have you noticed how certain phrases echo in your mind? Refrains from sermons you half listened to, now ringing with fresh resonance? Words once glossed over, faithful in the unseen, reward in secret places, crown of life, dance in your consciousness like a sacred refrain. These passages, mere background noise at the time, were divine markers laid along your path. In Matthew 6 verse 6, the call to enter your room and pray, "Your Father who sees in secret will reward you," emerges now as living instruction. Your silent worship was never overlooked. It was the currency exchanged for heavenly investment. Recognize these phrases as living threads weaving your present into the tapestry of eternity. A whisper from your inner voice rises above the clamor of doubt. You were never created for applause, but for impact. Even as the world chased bright lights and social proof, your spirit yearned for substance beneath the glare. Remember the solace you found in early morning walks, in notebooks filled with prayers no one read, in tears shed when no audience watched. Those private moments carved channels deep into your soul, crafting a reservoir of authenticity that now flows with unyielding force. This is the power you carry, the undiluted stream of purpose that nourishes every action you take, far from the fickle gaze of onlookers. Contrast dawn's hush with the tumult of the marketplace, where every voice clamors for fleeting attention. In that din, you once questioned whether your quiet faith held any worth. Yet when the world's noise fades, you hear a deeper melody, the resonance of souls awakening to the same call. Like Elijah on Mount Horeb, who found God not in wind, earthquake, or fire, but in a gentle whisper, you discern the subtleties of divine guidance in the spaces between events. Your allegiance to silence over spectacle has tuned your spirit to frequencies that broadcast transformation across both heavens and earth. Your mission demands no crowds. It thrives in the sacred hush where true alignment is born. A memory surfaces of the day you chose integrity over recognition, refusing to compromise your convictions even when the path grew steeper. You felt isolated, as though the ground beneath you had shifted, but inside, something crystallized. A deep-seated certainty that your soul's compass was truer than any external measure. In Daniel's vision of the Ancient of Days, you see your own reflection, one who stands firm in the face of shifting empires, whose worth is written not in temporal accolades but in divine ordinances. Every choice to honor your inner truth was a brick in the altar upon which your greater purpose now stands. A prophecy reverberates in your spirit. The season of silent testing gives way to the age of audible action. You have come to the threshold where revelation itself demands embodiment. Like the trumpet blown at Jericho's walls, the sound of your faith will dismantle lingering doubts and awaken the hearts of those still ensnared by darkness. You are called to wield your voice not for applause, but for activation, speaking truths that catalyze freedom in unseen realms. This is the unfolding of your cosmic role, the moment when what was hidden in the secret places bursts forth in living testimony, reshaping the landscape of reality itself. An inner flame ignites as you embrace that your steps, once measured in the cadence of waiting, now thunder with purpose. Your walk is no longer tentative but charged with the gravity of one aligned to divine will. Every gesture, every word, becomes an offering that resonates far beyond the moment. You sense the convergence of timelines, the sacred intersection where your personal odyssey meets the collective awakening. Carry this certainty with you. You are not a solitary spark but part of a living constellation, each movement a pulse in the heart of a grand illumination. And as you move forward, know that your authority, born in silence, crowned in secret, now shines in the world's unfolding dawn. Stand now in the reality that you have passed heaven's exam in silence, and your crown awaits. Subscribe if you haven't yet, like this video, and comment "I am chosen" to let this message anchor in your soul. Share it with someone who needs to hear this. For full prophetic revelations daily, join the membership via the link in the description. Your spiritual path deserves more than fragments. Step into the full light. And if this message moved you deeply, consider tapping the Super Thanks button to support the mission. Every Super Thanks fuels the light we're spreading together. Chosen One, thanks for your presence here. Remember, they didn't see it, but heaven did, and now so will you.